Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is with mixed emotions that I bring the Kraken State of the Union. I'm going to keep this pretty short, for everyone's sake. Basically, the this is the I talked to most of you already, but this is sort of the more formal announcement that we are moving away from contracts and we are going to back to the keeper format. There are going to be some differences. We are doing auction style. We are sticking with that, and we are moving away from like ADP, snake draft, and things are going to be handled dollars moving forward. I think once you take things into perspective, this is going to be objectively better than last year. It's going to be very. We want the idea is to keep this basically the same keeper mindset of last year, but instead of, again, the ADP, the snake draft, all that stuff, we're moving to auction. We're moving everything over to dollars, but everything else is going to stay basically the same. So, however you feel about contracts, uh, my opinion is that this year is is going to be better than last year. And unless you're really tied to ADP or you've never done auction draft or anything like that, I I think you should be excited for auction draft because it's just a better experience for everybody. You're not going to be locked behind a draft spot to have a chance at a player. Yes, you might be priced out. I'm going to be priced out of like Marvin Harrison Jr. And other elite players, and that's fine. But technically, you're not really out of the race for any player. Other than players who are keepers, you get a chance at anyone who's available, and again, not stuck behind a bunch of other people in a draft order. So that should keep it exciting, um, and ultimately, I think just a lot better than what we had previously. So let's look forward and focus on that. So just a couple of quick things that'll have to change, as a result of going to dollars and cents or whatever from picks and ADP. We have to figure out keepers and things like that. So keeper prices are going to stay the same as they were calculated for contracts for this year. So that part's not going to change. I think ultimately, if we're going to translate round keepers into dollars, it was going to land the same anyway. So that part's staying the same. So then moving to 2025. What is a scroll lock? Is that why my thing's busted? There we go. Yeah, so starting 2025, the way we are going to determine, keeper value and what you have to pay to keep your guys. Prior we were doing, average of, where they were drafted versus their upcoming ADP, and then seeing which round that fell in. It's going to be much more simple. It's going to be the average of, the prior year's keeper or auction price and the upcoming Yahoo salary cap average. Now there are two values that you can see in Yahoo, so I put it right here on the Yahoo salary cap sort of draft analysis thing. There's average dollars and projected dollars. What we've always done for ADP is like the actual all drafts averages versus the Yahoo projected numbers there. So we're sticking with that. We're sticking with average on here. So some players will be higher, some players will be lower versus the projected, but we are going by average. So keep that in mind. Undrafted free agents. So prior, undrafted free agents were a 16th round pick. Now it's just going to be the equivalent. It's going to be $1. If you get an undrafted free agent that you want to have as a keeper, it's going to be $1. Plain and simple. That's it. Obviously, when you go to the year after that is when you have to start averaging again, just like we did with keepers. So that part is staying the same. I want to stress that and stress that again, that this is going to be very, very, very similar to the old keeper format, just with dollars instead of picks. So I even have it right here. The intent is to play the game the same as last year, but with auction salary cap instead of snake draft and ADP. So if there's any questions that you have, let me know and I'll answer them. So get your mind back into the keeper framework, away from contracts, and just for basically anything contract related, just get out of your head because we are not doing contracts anymore. That's a thing of the past. Get right back into the keeper framework. It'll make things a lot easier for you. Now, obviously, there were changes. People made changes. People made decisions at keeper time. People made trades. A lot of things happened as a result, with the intention, rather, I guess, the pretense of this being a contract league. And so now with this sort of, it's kind of a rug pull here at the very end. There is due compensation, and so that's what this next tab is going to be about. And there is compensation. There's also some of it's affects everybody. Some is just unique to each person. So again, decisions made in the offseason with the intention of moving the contract league, teams were affected differently. Down here, we have the differences in each team's keeper cost versus their contract cost. So basically, what I did was calculate, what people were going to be spending next year, assuming they kept their players for 2 years, and then I compared that to the same cost it would be if they were to keep those same players under the keeper rules. The averaging of the prices and the Yahoo average or whatever, comparing those two numbers again, the contract versus the Yahoo, and then measuring the differences. So I have that right here. The calculation is done by averaging each year's 2024 costs with their current Yahoo average and comparing that to their previous contract costs for next year. And these are the results. So um, I'm taking a 0 just as a measure of good faith, because I'm not going. I don't want to at all get any compensation for this. So everything else. So Chris, example, his 2025 budget is going to be, before any sort of trading of budget or anything, it's going to be just plus $20.85. Jake's is going to be plus $22.20. Elliot's is going to be plus $8.85. Now, there's a number of people who have negative numbers here. This is just as you'd expect. It's that the contract would be actually higher than the way we're doing it now. So these are people that are actually benefiting from the new rules. Plus their ability to, everyone has the ability now to go back to opting in or out of keeping a player. You get to choose at the end of each year versus being locked in. So I'm not going to be deducting any sort of salary from anybody's total budget, because they do have the option of who they do and who they don't want to keep. And I'm just not going to dock people for that. If it's their decision, if they want to, sort of pick players that don't come out to their that don't match up with the value that Yahoo states, which is fine. Yahoo's wrong, could be wrong a lot, but we're establishing a baseline here. So people who are here in the red and that are registering this negative, there's nothing negative that's going to happen for you here. So don't worry about that. It's just the people who basically, you can see here, most of these people made decisions and made trades this offseason and moved budget around and whatever it is to get certain players they wanted. McGovern paid a price to get Justin Jefferson, with the expectation that Justin Jefferson is going to be $24 plus 10% each year. Obviously, that's not going to happen anymore. So he's getting totally screwed out of this. And so there's a small piece of compensation here. It's with Amon-Ra St. Brown too. So he has two guys that are going to be costing a lot more. So just trying to level out that playing field, especially when we're talking about one day before the draft, had to get that all cleared up. So this is what the compensation schedule looks like. I already went over this. Yeah, positive number gets compensation. I take 0. Negative value, do not see their budgets decrease. This is justified by the renewed ability to opt in or out of keeping a player. And finally, the last bit here, also a part of people's decisions. Yes, there's a financial impact. There's also a strategic component of the expectation that you're going to be able to carry up to 16 players from 2024 to 2025. If you have a whole roster of $1 contracts that tend to pay out, and you want to keep them next year, and you had signed them for multiple years, then that would have been a possibility. And that could be a reason as to why you would spend, a lot of money to get premium players up front. And now that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. So, but the best we can really do here is increasing the number of keepers from 4 to 5 entering next year. There's talk of going further than that. I know there's people who talked last year about wanting to decrease keepers. So the number of keepers has always been a point of contention, and we've always found 4 to be a happy spot. That said, there hadn't ever been any major strategic changes with the understood implication that there will be an opportunity for more keepers going to essentially more keepers and more players being carried over from year to year until this year. So this is an executive decision where we need to make this adjustment. I know some people will be happy about this. There might be some people who aren't as happy about this. The way I see it is that the way that the salary cap is going to be working out, in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of players, especially now that we're going to auction format, those budgets and those costs are going to get very high. So we're going to start seeing some more elite player turnover than we had seen in the past. Because prior, the most you would ever have to give up to keep a player is your first round pick. That's the most. But now you're talking about, let's say, CMC, who costs $78. That's essentially that's the most expensive player you can get. That's not equal to the 12th best player in the draft as far as a dollar amount is concerned. So there's going to be less of an ability to have a stranglehold on all the best players every single year. So I do think it'll take us a little bit of time because of the way things are set up right now. It might be 1-2 years until we start seeing some more of those players being recycled back in. But I do think that'll happen in spite of having 5 more keepers, because that 5th keeper is not going to be a big budget player. The current budgets do not really allow for 5 expensive players to be kept on any one person's team with the increasing averages each year. So, I know that's the primary concern of this, and those are my feelings on it. So, I see both sides of it, and I think this is ultimately the best way we can reach, everybody in a way to keep the format that everyone had loved last year, but also to accommodate people who had made decisions going into this upcoming year with only 1 day left until draft. So this is entirely on me when it comes down to it. I do want to make sure that that's clear. Ultimately, I my opinion, and I'll just be frank with you guys, is that I definitely pushed this contract format, I think, a little more aggressively than I should have. It was something that really excited me. I thought that the league would really get behind it and find it to be really exciting. Ultimately, it was a gigantic time commitment. I can confidently say that I've poured way too much time into it, and it would only serve to be more of a time suck going forward. And I mean, you might not want to hear this, card, but I have a family, I have a full-time job, I have a lot of things that are demanding my attention, and I don't have the time that I once had to be going this deep and basically creating a custom format. We checked out League Tycoon. We ultimately decided to come back to Yahoo, and I thought I could build around that, and we got close, but there is going to be a lot more loopholes that we may not have seen yet, things that were to come, and I think a lot of that was being unearthed in the last few days, and I just don't have the time for it. So I apologize to all you for the way I've handled this. It's definitely hasn't been my best moment as commissioner. Has been a little bit rocky there, but I hope you guys can understand where I was coming from, and can. I don't want to be dramatic. It's not like forgiving me for whatever, but I just want you to know where it is I'm coming from. That I'm not trying to like screw anybody over. I made a mistake, and that's why we are where we are now. So I think that about covers it. We have draft tomorrow. Honestly, I'm still super excited for that. Auction's gonna be. I've never done an auction draft. I just did like a 2 rounds of a mock draft in Yahoo just to get familiar with like how the draft room looks. And I'm really excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. One day I want to be able to get everybody to do an offline draft. I think that'll be really cool too. But doing online with some people over here and people from all over, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing everyone online tomorrow night. I'll open up Discord and all that tomorrow. We can all chat and talk shit and all that good stuff. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, and please let me know if you have any questions on the change beyond what I've shared here. Yeah, I'll be on Discord like I usually am. So yeah, until tomorrow. See you guys later.